What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. I'm a little bit sick today, so we're not going to be doing the typical intro of me talking or the outro of me talking because I'm actually under the weather and not really feeling too well. Yeah, I know it happened again, can't believe it, but oh well. I didn't want to just leave you guys hanging though, so I wanted to give you a video. So today's video, we're going to be talking about the crested gecko's best trait that they can have, and that is spots. And I'm going to teach you guys all the different kinds. We're going to be showing you guys a bunch of different colored spots, a bunch of different types of spots. So you guys are going to want to stick around till the end, so you will be a Dalmatian crested gecko expert by the end of this video. Without any further ado, let's get this video rolling. Now, in case you guys missed last week's video, we made my crocodile gecko a bioactive tank. You guys are not going to want to miss that build. I'll link it down in the description just so you guys know. Definitely check it out. It was a very cool build, honestly. I had a lot of fun making this tank, and he really enjoys it. If you guys want an update on that, let me know in the comments. But if you haven't seen it, check it out after you get done watching this video. Alright guys, now the first thing before we actually get into it is I want to explain one thing that people get confused on. It's a quick little disclaimer. Now, I want to just tell you guys this because a lot of people get it confused. A Dalmatian crested gecko is a trait. It is not a morph. So any morph of crested gecko can have Dalmatian spots. So people get this confused a lot, and I just want to clarify. A Dalmatian gecko can be any morph. For example, patternless Dalmatian, or a bicolor, or a tiger, or a brindle, or I mean like literally any of the crested gecko morphs can be a Dalmatian because Dalmatians are traits. It's not a morph. Now you guys might be asking, when I always talk about Dalmatians, I'm just talking about their trait. I'm not talking about the actual morph of the crested gecko, which, for if you guys are wondering, what I breed for is patternless Dalmatians. I also breed for brindle or tiger, mostly because that was the first pairing of geckos that I had, so that was what I first started with. So that's what I go for, is the patternless with Dalmatian spots, because I think they look the best. I love that pale, clean base, and that's what I want to produce on all of the babies that I make. Now, the other thing I want to talk about Dalmatian spots before we get started is a lot of Dalmatian spots, this is what it's known for, is as they grow, as the gecko grows, so like from a hatchling to a subadult or an adult, their spots will continue to multiply, and they will also continue to grow. So they'll get bigger, they'll spread out. One last thing is that spots develop with age and sheds. So the more sheds they have, the more they'll develop little spots, and they'll start coming in every single shed that they have. Now, they tend to gain more and more spots each shed up until around 25-ish grams. Now, this is just, I mean, for the most part, this is typically when they stop developing their spots, is at 25 grams now. Well, I guess not developing, but I'll say getting their spots. Now, at the 25 gram mark, I've had some continue to have their spots grow. I would say they might get more with some of their sheds, and they kind of do get some now, but it's not nearly as much as when they were smaller or growing. So now that you guys have the basic facts of the spots and kind of how they work, and that it's a trait, not a morph of crested gecko, let's get into the video and let's start talking about spots. Alright guys, how rude of me, I didn't even introduce you. For the new people that don't know, this is Orca. She's my humongous female crested gecko who I just got, I would say probably a few months ago now, and she is adorable. I mean, this is quite honestly the biggest crested gecko I think I've ever seen in person, and one of the biggest that I've ever seen, period. She is huge. I mean, look at this girl. She's massive. Like, the camera does not do it justice how big she is, and I have really big hands. Like, she takes up most of my hand, and my hand is huge. So just to give you an idea, she's a very massive crested gecko. And one more thing real quick, we're going to be talking about structure and doing a deep dive into that, and things might get a little bit heated. I'm not going to call anybody specifically out, but I do want to really talk about structure because there's some big breeders that are claiming they have good structure on their animals, and let's just say I don't agree with that. So we're going to do a deep dive into structure next week and talk about that. I hope you guys will enjoy that. Let me know in the comments if you will, or you look forward to that and you want to learn about crested gecko structure. But that's next week's video, so make sure you guys are subscribed and you guys will see that next week. Anyway, let's keep it moving. But now that I did my intro and introduced you guys to Orca, I'm going to put her down and grab Sif so we can talk about Dalmatians. And yeah, let's do that. Alright guys, so this is Sif. This is one of my female breeder crested geckos as well. So, for her spots, she is just a normal Dalmatian. So what that means is that she's got roughly 45 or less spots, give or take, on her whole body. As you guys can see, she doesn't have a ton of spots on her body, but she does have some. So she's just a normal Dalmatian. Now, like I said, it's not a morph, it's just a trait. So I'm just gonna, you guys understand what I'm saying now. I don't have to clarify every single time I say that. So she is just a normal Dalmatian because she doesn't have more than 45 spots. Now, if you mix her with a Super Dal, which is what I do when I breed her, you can end up getting babies that have more spots, and she does tend to produce offspring that has a ton of spots. We'll talk about that later, but this is just a normal Dalmatian. Basically, they can be any color spot. It doesn't have to be black. It can be red, it can be green, it can be brown, it can be the oil spots, which we're going to talk about all these spots soon. Now, there is some debate on the exact number of spots that make it a Super Dalmatian versus a Dalmatian, but I would say anywhere from like 45-ish to 50-ish spots is a Dalmatian. Anything more is a Super Dal. Now, obviously, once you guys see a Super Dalmatian, you guys will be able to understand. It's really self-explanatory on what a Super Dalmatian or a Dalmatian is and the difference between them. Same thing with the ink spot or ink blot, however you guys say it, which I'll explain all this stuff if you guys don't know soon. But it's really self-explanatory. I just want to let you guys know that now. It's not very difficult to figure out what yours is. Yeah, this is a perfect example of a Dalmatian. Now, like I said, she is more of my brindle or tiger marking Dalmatian. She's not a patternless or like a clean base like I like. But the one thing I do love about her, other than her spots and that she gives off amazing babies, is her structure. Which, like I said, we're talking that next week. But, I mean, whew. Structure-wise, this is a sound gecko, man. Nice and thick, nice big head, nice big crest. It goes down, it's not pointed up. Well, it's kind of level, I guess. It doesn't really go down, but her babies do have some that go down, which are very, very nice. And Odie, the male that I pair her with most of the time, is a very nice example of good structure. Let me show you guys the next spot pattern we're going to talk about, and that is Super Dalmatians. Now, guys, as I was about to do this video, Mercury just shed apparently last night and left his tail shed in there. It's kind of cool. Never really seen that before, so it's pretty sweet. Alright, let's get back on topic. Alright guys, now remember what I told you about Dalmatians and Super Dalmatians don't have to have black spots? Well, this is a perfect example of a Super Dalmatian that has red spots. Now this is Mercury, again, flawless crest, which we'll get into that in structure, but Mercury is my, I guess you want to say, like $1 million baby or prize gecko or show gecko or whatever you want to say. This is him. This is my best gecko that I have. I figured why not show him off a little bit, and why not show off his beautiful Super Dalmatian red stripes, or red spots, not red stripes. Now, basically Super Dalmatians are geckos that have any more than the 40 to 50-ish plus spots. Like I said, they can be any color, so like the spots, as you guys can see on Mercury, are red, black. I believe he's got some like green in there too, some green spots on his back. I don't know how well the camera will pick that up, but he's got a ton of different color spots. And like I said, guys, it's common sense. You guys can tell the difference between him and Sif on who's a Super Dalmatian and who's a regular Dalmatian. So that's basically my point in this video, so you guys don't get tricked or bamboozled by anybody that's trying to claim, oh, I've got this Super Dalmatian, and they don't. So that's my biggest thing. That's why I'm doing this video and the structure video next week. I see all too often people are trying to pass things off as good structure or great structure or, you know, Super Dalmatian, ink spot, yada yada yada, and it's not. So I'm very passionate about that. I think it's the right thing to do to put the proper information out there. That way, you know, people have access to it and they can make their own purchasing decisions in the future. But I just don't want anybody to be tricked by anybody, so trying to do this video to help everyone out. Anyway, back on topic. So like I said, it's any more than that 45 to 50-ish plus spot mark, which as you guys can see, I would say just on his head alone, he's probably got 30. Then you got his back and each lateral, which if you guys didn't know, this is the upper lateral, lower It's basically just the number of spots that count. It can be any color, red, black, green, I mean, you name it, the color spot, it can be any of those colors and it would still be a Super Dalmatian. Biggest thing is common sense. As long as you have this info, you guys should be able to discern the difference between a Super Dalmatian, a normal Dalmatian, and an ink spot. So with that being said, let's get into the third topic, and that's going to be ink spots or ink blots, however you say it. And I have a very, very, very nice example of that one. She doesn't have the greatest crest, but you guys will see she has the spots, and hopefully her babies we can breed that crest structure and that overall structure into her babies. But I'll show you guys a little bit more what I mean when we show you chips, and that's who I'm going to show you guys next to cover ink spots or ink blots. Alright guys, well, you know how I said my last gecko that I showed you, Mercury, was my, main, best gecko or whatever. Well, Chips is a very close second because, I mean, look at this girl. I got her when she was 7 grams from an expo near me. Big cut on her nose, which completely healed. But look at that spot. That and these big old spots on her are called ink spots or ink blots. And she's a super Dalmatian, so she's a super Dalmatian ink blot crested gecko. And I mean, look at her. She is nuts. She has so many spots. They're literally all over. Like, just try to count how many are on her foot alone. Then look at her leg, and then look at her back, and then look at her side. It's like everywhere you look, she's covered in spots. She's got, I guess, a little open spot right in there, but other than that, I mean, she's pretty much covered. Now, like I was saying, obviously she doesn't have as big of a head or crest as Mercury, so I'm hoping when I breed her, not that it's necessarily going to be to Mercury, but whoever I breed her with has nice structure, because I want to build on the spots, but I also want the geckos to have good structure. Now, when I breed, I'm breeding for structure and spots. I'm not only breeding for spots. There's some people out there that only breed for spots, and you look at their geckos, and there's some really famous ones. I mean, like, big stuff here. They're sitting there advertising for their geckos, and, they don't really have good structure. Now, it's like, I don't know if people just don't care about the structure or what, but I think structure is important. You want big-bodied geckos. You want big, healthy, robust geckos. Now, the spots, to me, are secondary. I know that sounds crazy as somebody that's literally breeding for spots, but I think it's very important to have healthy geckos, and I'm not going to sacrifice my geckos or anything like that. Not that it's saying if you breed geckos that have bad structure, like with their crests or head or anything, that you're doing a bad job breeding. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying when I breed, I take into account everything, and I put a heavy emphasis on structure, especially for my Dalmatians, which that's mostly what I breed. I don't really breed anything else, especially anymore. But getting back on topic, basically the ink spots or the ink blots can be any color, but typically they're like oddly shaped, as you guys can see right here. That big ink spot, which she has some other ones on here, all these big spots I would consider ink spots because they're so big, but that's her main ink spot right there. It hasn't really changed since she was little. Ever since I got her at 7 grams, she's had that one big spot, and I kind of thought it would break up into little, like 2 or 3 little spots and kind of just break off, but it pretty much stayed together. So this is my example of an ink spot. I'm hoping that, I mean, she laid duds for me last 2 months ago, last month. I don't remember how long it was. I have to check just to make sure that I'm not giving you guys the wrong stuff, but she laid duds, so she should be ready to breed this upcoming season. Obviously, she's still going to put on a little bit of weight, but she has pretty much filled out. I mean, I don't know if you guys can tell because my hands are really big, but she's thickened out. That's one thing I've noticed on my videos, that it's kind of hard to tell you guys, oh, this is a huge gecko, and then you look at my hand and it looks small, but I have huge hands. Like, I don't know if you guys can tell, but like, yeah, I mean, I have really big hands, so all my geckos look small, but I mean, she's huge. I still need to get an exact weight on her, and obviously we'll make sure she's up to weight before we breed her. But as far as laying eggs, she actually laid me duds, which I was shocked about. So I was, not really expecting it. But she also was a frog butt, so she doesn't have to weigh, as much as other geckos. I like to get her to the 45-ish gram mark at least before I breed, even without her tail. Like without her tail, 45 grams. She had her tail maybe 50, but if we can get her up to that 45 gram mark, I think we'll be good to go for this next season, and this will be Chips' first season breeding. I cannot wait. Anyway, let's get back on topic. Ink blots can be any spot color, and they can be any shape, like you guys see there. That's a weird ink blot or ink spot. Typically that's what they are, especially the big ones, but you guys can see she has huge spots all over her body, and they are dark black. Sometimes they don't look like this because she's going through a shed, but you guys can see these are some black spots. And again, once you guys hear this stuff once, I feel like it's going to be self-explanatory for you. You're not really going to have to worry about it in the future, and you won't be bamboozled when you're trying to buy any geckos or anything like that. Guys, now for the next one, I'm going to show you guys a confetti, which is basically multiple different color spots on a gecko. But technically, if you're going by the definition of a confetti crested gecko, they have to have equal number of spots. Now, most people try to say confettis, you know, or just geckos that have multiple different color spots. But if you look up the definition, is that they have equal numbers of those spots on their body. Now, that's where the debate can come in. I guess we can have a debate, but to me, you've got to have close to equal. It doesn't have to be exact, but if you're going to call it a confetti, you better not have one white spot, one red spot, yada, yada, yada. You guys get what I'm saying? Let me show you my next boy that I'm going to show you. That's a confetti. Alright guys, now here's my example of a confetti. Now, it's kind of hard to see because he's not really flaring, so some of those red spots kind of look black, but he's got some yellow spots, he's got some red spots, he's got black spots, he's got some white spots. This side is a better example of some of those yellowish, red, and black spots. So I would call this a confetti. Now, there's a lot of people out there when they have, you know, one spot that's red, one spot that's black, or like multiple black spots, one red spot, and one, you know, white spot, that people are like, oh my god, you have a confetti. And it's like, I don't know. I'd like to hear your guys' opinion on confettis. Let me know if you guys are a breeder or anything like that, or any of you bigger breeders. If you're watching this, please let me know what you guys consider confetti. To me, you've got to have multiple spots, and it's got to be like this. You guys can see there's multiple red spots, multiple black spots, multiple yellow spots. It's not just mostly all black and then some of each. It's just some of each, you know what I'm saying? Even that one spot is kind of cool that has the 3 yellow spots over the black spot. This is awesome to me. Yeah, to me, this is what a confetti looks like. It looks kind of like a party. A nice variety of different spot colors on your gecko. As you guys can see, you're not seeing an overwhelming number of any color spots, other than, I guess you could say, maybe on his head. He's got kind of some speckling of black spots up there, but other than that, he's got equal numbers of spots for the most part. So I would consider him a confetti. Now, like I said, do your research on what you think a confetti is, but for me, if you're trying to look up the basic definition, or, you know, try to get some info on it, it should be equal number of different color spots, and that's what makes up the confetti. Kind of like a party. Like when you think of confetti, it's a bunch of different colors. It's the same exact thing for geckos. So let me know what you guys' opinions are, especially if you're bigger breeders or you're somebody that, you know, has pull in the reptile community. Please give me your opinion. I would like to know. I'd like to try to figure it out a little bit. There's a lot of question marks around geckos still, honestly. Like, it's a relatively new thing. I mean, they're not popular everywhere, but I mean, I just want to know what you guys' opinions are. So let me know in the comments. But yeah, I mean, this boy still needs a name. He's gorgeous. I was debating getting rid of him, potentially just to upgrade in some other areas of Dalmatians. I could use a really nice ink spot or ink blot male for this upcoming season, because like I said, Chips is going to be breeding, and I've got a few other girls that I don't necessarily have a good boy to pair them with, but they are going to be breeding next year, so he might get one of them. I don't really know yet. We're still figuring that out. But yeah, guys, let me know any name ideas you guys have for this guy. I think this dude is gorgeous. I mean, look at those yellow spots, man. You find me a Dalmatian crested gecko that has this orange of spots, and I'll give you $1 million. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have $1 million. But anyway, very rare, very cool gecko. But yeah, this is confetti. All right, guys, now we're going to talk about different color spots and target spots and odd end things like that, just to wrap up the whole spot and Dalmatian topic for today, and then we will be out of here. All right, guys, now I was going to show you target to show you the target spots, but I remembered that I just got this girl not too long ago from White Tank Exotics, and she has a ton of target spots. That right there is a target spot. It's basically a red spot. There's another one. There's another one that has black around it or in it, and it looks like a target. Now she has a bunch all over her. And again, this is another debatable thing, because it's like, is that really a target spot since the black doesn't fully cover it? I mean, I'm just being nitpicky just because I like to have, you know, definitive lines and definitive answers. But, I mean, I would say that those are all target spots. But yeah, also she's a super Dalmatian. She has target spots. She has some ink spotting, because some of those spots are freaking huge. I mean, I don't think the camera really does them justice, but those are huge. And then as you guys can see in the front right here, which I'm going to show you guys next, is oil spots. But see how that one's very, very light and that black one is very, very dark? That light one could be an oil spot. Now, an oil spot is basically just a lighter example of a regular spot. Now, don't get that confused when they're either shedding or, you know, not flaring or anything like that. Sometimes those spots don't look as dark black. Mike's Cresties on Instagram is a good example to look at when you're looking at oil spots, because as you guys can see, those lighter spots are called oil spots. Basically, it's not the typical Dalmatian spot. It's like a much lighter, like a grayish or like just like a hazy color Dalmatian spot. I wanted to let you guys know about oil spots and target spots. Alright guys, now here's another one that has some yellow spots, some orange spots, actually a few red spots even in there. I would say to me she would be a borderline confetti, but as you guys can see, she has a ton of different color spots. I wouldn't really try to advertise this as a confetti. Now maybe she can produce some babies. She would be a good breeder for confettis, but she does look pretty cute. Actually, I might let the confetti male breed with her this next year. We'll see. But anyway, there's another example of a gecko that has a ton of really pretty spots. You guys can even see that little yellow spot right by her mouth right there. Very, very cool. Alrighty guys, congratulations, you are now experts on Dalmatians. Now I just wanted to say one more thing before we got off the video. I just want to say that I am going to make one day the perfect super Dalmatian, the perfect ink spot, and the perfect confetti. And I'm not talking just about spots, I'm talking about spots and structure. I think structure needs to be mentioned more. Like I said previously, structure needs to be talked about more because it is a huge part of crested geckos. I think it's very important. Now guys, if you learned anything or you liked the video, make sure to give me a thumbs up. If you're new, you should subscribe and turn on all notifications, that way you don't miss any future uploads. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you. I would not be able to do this without you. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.